Hi, I'm Britton LaRue, and this is Moon to Moon. Moon to Moon is a space to consider, celebrate, and share the ways we come home to ourselves, anchor through change, and uncover our power. 1 month, one phase, one loving step at a time. Hello, Moon to Moon. I'm coming in with a dark moon download. It's been a few months since I've created one of these. I have no notes. I have like a web of themes that I'm going to be bringing through. We'll weave it as we go. And the theme is, you ready for this? The miraculousness, the miracle of self-validation. Self-validation is a miracle. I'm going to be teasing that out as we go. But I wrote it down at the beginning of this lunar cycle that began with the new moon in Cancer. And here, with the moon in Cancer back again before the new moon in Leo, I'm telling you, self-validation is a miracle. And I mean, it is connected to the divine. We can't do it by ourselves. We receive support to help us weave what all logic would point to as impossible. Why impossible? I said a couple of years ago to myself in my journal, it may have been Cancer season, I don't fully remember. I wrote, what we have in our culture is failure of attunement. Failures of attunement. Attunement in families, attunement in communities, failure of attunement in government, in nation, in overculture. There is a severe, I would say, malnourishment among us, through us, and around us from having not been properly attuned to. And the consequences of this are often pretty grim as we become adults and act in the world starved for attunement, but not having been given language or tools or rituals and ceremonies for restoring attunement, calling in attunement, repairing attunement. So many not even knowing what proper attunement would feel like in order to imagine it. So here between the lunar cycle ruled by Cancer, then the moon, and the lunar cycle ruled by the sun in Leo, I am calling in language to support us in holding the capacity for strength, for courage, to see this to the extent that is possible today, so that we may feel the appropriate grief and the appropriate rage. Because as in tapping into the grief and rage around this, so we metabolize it into power. The power for change. The power for new pathways. Pathways made of generosity that come from the kind of abundance that springs from us, from more loving attunement. What I found to be true is, even if you cannot find this in the human community that you have, repair and restoration and the remembering of this abundance is available to you through the divine. The divine of the planets, the divinity in the animated world all around us and in us. Inherent and innate in each of us is the opportunity to remember, this divinity and validate it. Self-validation is a miracle. It is a miraculous spell. It is a miraculous act. And it is a miraculous gift for yourself and for all who encounter you, the more you live it. I'm deeply moved because my card for the outcome of this cycle has been 6 of Cups. I've spoken of this card here before. It is a card that for me has a lot to do with wells, as in the wells of love that we have access to through divine support, through ancestral support, through our spirit guides who are very close to us when we create ritual space to be connected to them. We can also connect to them outside of rituals because it becomes a ritual to be connected. And I knew that when I saw that card as an outcome with the many really, really, really big cards for this lunar cycle, that it would be a big one, and that it was going to at some point be connecting me to this well that I feel is a personal restoration that I share through my work. And I didn't see till now how all this is connecting. A year ago, I initiated a new offer called Emergence Astrology Year 1. I had known that I wanted it to begin at Cancer. I didn't really have logical reasons for this. At the time, it was like, oh, it's logical because the Thema Mundi chart, the birth chart of the world, is Cancer rising. And it also worked with my workflow, and I thought it would be really fun to promote it during Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is the patron of astrology. So that all lined up really well. But what I didn't really anticipate that came through once we began, because it's a very mystical space. I have a lot of channeled transmissions, very channeled. I found that the transmission for Cancer came through as the guides were showing me these rivers through time that run through all timeline realities that humans experience as their time. And that these rivers are made by our ancestors, unfathomably ancient and near. And they were singing through my voice about how much they love us. And in the experience, I was weeping because it was like my body hadn't really known that level of love to hold at once. It was just so big. And it felt so important for us to hear this and to receive it and to let it move through our bodies. And it's such a incredible in the space between that feeling of Cancer and the Cancer archetype as it exists through all of culture and through us, like the distance between these, in that distance is the failure of attunement. What I mean by attunement is that the turning toward a being and really seeing the being in its beingness, in the fullness of the spirit of that being, and giving that being the sovereignty to be fully there in that spirit. And the attunement can give us then information about what nurturance might be the most appropriate, the most desired or needed for that particular being. And so the Cancer archetype as one that we connect to, that sense of mother, caregiver, breasts, mammary glands like milk, the swaddle, being held, nurtured, womb, home, belonging to that swaddle. Like that in the context of proper attunement. I think that, the sense that as we move into Leo and we feel into Leo as the sun and as generosity, big-hearted generosity, abundant giving of the light, of the abundant giving of the source light, which is the spirit, the animated spirit that powers these bodies, the light on in the house, freely giving it, sharing the warmth, sharing the vitality of the spirit. This is difficult to freely give with generosity if there's so much malnourishment of attunement, if there's even been abuse of attunement that is led by the projections of the attuner, attunement that is guided by the fears of the attuner. And here I mean caregiver or anyone subbing in for an older adult who's paying attention to you, checking in on you as the child. And we're all, I think, always children because we're like children at being here on planet Earth. If we've been shamed, policed, abused, misheard repeatedly, unseen repeatedly, if we feel ourselves to be something that's emitting and we're told that that's not what we are, actually, and if we're told that we are lying to ourselves if we do believe that that's who we are. Like the consequences of this. Would make it such that we are now also a people who are not generously giving from our animated life force. Intelligently, we would hide it. We would try to change it. We would protect its sweetness from anyone who might once again repeat these abuses or abandon the beauty that we know that we are inherently because we're miracles and we're divine actually. One of the major symptoms of what we could call narcissistic abuse. And this isn't like, I like to focus on the symptoms, like with shame, the symptoms of shame, because the symptoms are what we can connect to as like, oh, well, yeah, I do feel like that, even though we might not register that we have shame, you know? But the symptoms of shame were like, oh yeah, I do struggle with that. Oh yeah, that is something I have a hard time with. And that allows us to even get closer to understanding what's happened with us. I feel like when it comes to the concept of narcissism, sometimes we can get really tripped up in not wanting to call someone a narcissist. So then we don't know what to do about how to help ourselves. And this would, of course, be a classic symptom of narcissistic abuse, is we don't know that we're worthy of getting help and repair for ourselves. And we're worried about the other people. So the question is not, were you in a relationship with a narcissist? The question is, do you resonate with the symptoms of narcissistic abuse? Because if you do, you can begin to repair. Whether or not that person is actually a narcissist, according to like a test, is not as relevant as what really matters, which is repairing, you know, helping yourself begin to move towards the validation of your experience, which is miraculous. Because if you have been, if you have these symptoms and it's like built out from pre-memory life. It is so miraculous to completely unspell that spell. Like, self-validation is a miracle when you consider how long you were learning to self-invalidate. It really is miraculous. So that symptom, the number one symptom, confusion, which to me is just like, whoa. Confusion because we don't understand what's happening to us. Confusion is because we don't understand what we did to deserve the kind of treatment we're getting. Confusion because we don't know how we're to blame for something that didn't have anything to do with us. Confusion for expecting something much more loving and compassionate and generous from this experience than the thing that we're receiving. Confusion because we are being told to believe something about our experience then is the opposite of how it feels to us. And being told that if you find it confusing, then maybe you're the one that's lying to yourself. So, given that confusion is such a major symptom, it is no wonder that what ends up happening is that we feel so unable to trust ourselves as we get older and as we mature, and we're looking to the adults to tell us what to do because we can't trust ourselves, apparently. And who are the adults that are going to help me not fuck it up? Can somebody give me a set of rules? Can somebody tell me what to do? Just tell me what I need to do in order to be safe here. And so at a lunar level, a moon level, each of us cultivates these qualities to try to stay safe. If I could just secure these things, if I could just fill in the blank, then I'll feel safe. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Is this how I get safety? Is this where safety is? Is this where safety is? Is this where safety is? Meanwhile, living under governments that seem to just absolutely fucking not care. They don't care. And just like how reeling it is to just the more you see it, the more you see all these levels of like not caring. Cancer, Like, where did it begin that we have been so unskilled at attunement, so unskilled at caring? And so a natural, intelligent consequence of this is that so many of us are walking around just the more than desire, more than what you want, more than what you dream, more than what you imagine. We're just trying to stay safe. So it's like a lower bar, for striving. It's very difficult to stay in desire and stay in dream when there are so many needs that feel like they're not getting met that have to do with safety. Like I like to say, we can only move at the pace of our most scared parts. What are they afraid of? That they're not safe. It all comes back to this. It's systemic, it's familial, it's communal, it's personal. It's like, that's why earlier I was calling in the courage to really look this in the face, because my strength has come in my life at midlife from the willingness to look at it. Because prior to that, I couldn't look at it, which meant it's like in order to survive, I needed to not see. I needed to not feel. Because once it would start, it was going to be so overwhelming. And so what I devote myself to teaching is how to titrate into letting yourself really see and letting yourself really then feel the grief and the rage at these indignities, at these abuses. I used to be afraid that the feeling of those things would just take me out and that I would lose my light and I would lose my connection to my magical child because I would be so sad all the time and I'd be so angry all the time. But I have not found this to be true. Rather, my magic gets bigger because it's protected by the parts of me that are not afraid to look it right in the face when I'm fucking enraged. Cultivating the capacity to hold and look at it and let it boil up, ritualize it, give it a container. It allows you to be more in access to your heart, to your will. It increases your capacity to feel. So it will also increase your capacity to feel desire, to feel lust, to feel pleasure, to feel expansiveness, and to feel generosity. To feel generosity and to give it abundantly. Which brings us back to Leo. It feels so good. It feels so good, I'm going to give it. Open-hearted. Open-hearted. I was reflecting on the heart, and it's funny. I think I used to be afraid that if I really went for things with the full force of my heart, that if I failed or I didn't get it, or if someone was mean to me, or I was abandoned in some way, I was critiqued, I was canceled, that it would destroy my heart, and that would be so sad because then I would never want to try again. But I have not found this to be true. In the years, these 7+ years, I've been putting my heart out there. I've been putting my heart out there. Some pretty shitty things have happened. Some of my biggest fears have happened. And they were devastating. But it didn't take me down. It didn't wipe me out. Yeah, it's like it takes a moment to recover. And then it just feels so good to keep sharing generously. Just keep going. Is it naive or is it the fiercest thing possible? Because when we're looking at Leo here, and I have this workshop next week, audio drops on power, visibility, and leadership. These are sun themes. This is the big sun one. This is the sun mystics making money. It's really like so big. It's like you don't need to call yourself a mystic and you don't even need to be someone in the marketplace making money because this is like so central to aliveness. Like this fear of being seen is just so widespread. And, it comes from that, the lack of attunement and so much contact with caregivers who constantly judge and critique, that one would very naturally assume that that's what's everywhere, and that that's what happens when you allow your light to be seen. That makes so much sense. It's so intelligent. And it's partly true. Out in the marketplace, out in the world, there's no protections again that secure that we're loved, respected, seen generously, attuned to generously by everyone. That's not the deal. So this inner scaffolding, the inner cancer, building that self-validation that is at the heart of unshaming is it's a miraculous transformational process. It's miraculous because the younger self would never believe it possible. The younger self says, that's not possible though. I would never do that. Maybe even the present time self is saying that. That kind of visibility, that kind of impact, that kind of power, that kind of leadership, that's just not me. That's just not me. Yeah, I don't do things like that. Those are all protector parts that say those things. They're naturally trying to protect from the police, the shame police. The shame police masquerading as our caregivers. It's miraculous repairing self-validation. Miraculous. Astrology is inherently a language and a technology and a medium for healing. Astrology has the miraculous embedded in it. That's why surrounding ourselves with astrology, speaking the names with beauty, with attunement to the dignities, the beauties, the intelligences innate to this language. Removing from it the biases and the projections that have come from our human experiences with those names. That's the invitation. It's a slow, cyclical, spiralic process to trust yourself, to attune to yourself, notice what you see, notice what you feel, validate that this is here, and then tend to it. Those 3 steps that I talked about in the last episode on your aura is your power. Let's talk a little bit here about power then. There are many ways that we can define power. I would invite you to really reflect on what power means to you. Because, I don't know that I want to accept definitions from just anybody. No thanks. Abusers, not really interested in your definitions. I'll attune and validate my own, So I can talk to you about my definition, and even then, I would invite you to still question that, to run it through your own resonance field and feel into what resonates for you and getting rid of all the rest of it. We do not have to accept versions of reality from the abusers. What's wild, is that on the one hand, I, bless my Pisces heart, I'm always going to be holding out hope for compassion for the abusers and compassion for the oppressors. That's eating them up. It's, so incredibly lonely. Whoa, the loneliness. It's I don't care how much money someone has or what kind of even platform of quote unquote power they have. You can tell when someone's just deeply, deeply lonely. And that spiritual loneliness wreaks a lot of havoc. So I also, on the other hand, fuck them, No. And get out of my field. Power. Yes, so power. My favorite person to talk to is Matt Bull, my partner. And I asked him his definition. And he said, the ability to enact change. In a room, in an environment, in a business, in the marketplace, in nations. The ability to enact change. And I thought that was a really cool, unexpected phrasing. That's why I asked him, because he's always got this kind of Aquarian, Gemini kind of, didn't expect that take. Thanks for that. I'm going to run with that ball. And I was like, yes. It's when we're disempowered, when we feel disempowered, it's when we don't believe that anything that we do will change things. And that really draws up a lot of inner children for me, of just this sense of there's nothing that I can do. There's nothing I can do to make this person see. There's nothing that I can say to help myself be seen here. There's nothing that I can do. That's disempowerment. We can feel like this in the marketplace. We can feel like this with social media. We can feel like this in our relationships. We can feel like this so many places. Just this feeling of I cannot, there's nothing that I can do to create the change that I want, That's that feeling of not having any power. And if we've been overpowered physically, verbally, financially, the indignity of being overpowered. That's some real evidence, it's very frightening to allow yourself to believe in another story that's possible. Because we fucking learned about being overpowered. And it didn't feel good. And we're just trying not to go back there. Tell me what I need to do to not go back there. And so it's like, okay, so to cast a spell for power in my life would be to trust in the possibility that I create the kinds of change in my life that I'm calling in. That I can create change through me, through my choices. Through my choices, I choose. My choosing is my power. Choosing is my power. I choose this or I choose that. I'm choosing this story. I'm not choosing that story. I'm choosing to trust. I'm not choosing to trust. I'm choosing to try. I'm not choosing not to try. Whatever I do, if I make a choice, I am creating a change in my life. So in fact, I am always creating change in my life every single time I make a choice deliberately, consciously. Even if I choose to do nothing, I am in my power. How does that feel? Power is being the one who chooses for your life. How do you know what to choose? This is where we get tripped up. And this is where the moon stuff comes in, because we're trying to make the right choice in a very confusing world. It's confusing that we're treated this way. And I just want to make the right choice so that I'll be safe. That is confusing. Wow. So confusing. We could make the wrong choice and then be shamed. What to do? Maybe I should just do nothing. Will that keep me safe? It's a process. And sometimes the most powerful thing to do is to choose to wait. Sometimes the most powerful thing to do is to choose to do nothing while you wait for more information. Sometimes the powerful thing is to choose to say the thing. It is to choose to act, to choose to try, to choose to go, to choose to say, now is the time. Who is going to validate that timing? Self-validation is miraculous. Because it's like all time is actually our own time. So whatever time is perfect. When astrology is used to suggest that you chose poorly, then astrology is participating in shame around how we use time. So I say, try things out in retrogrades and eclipses. See what happens. Maybe it's amazing. Validating with the miraculous may just be the most important spell to create with timing and astrology. Power is validating your choice. And so then, even if it didn't go how you wanted, was it a failure? No. You were in your power when you chose that. That was a miraculous thing. Self-validation is a miracle. It's a miracle when you think about and hold just like the intensity of invalidation in our world. From many well-meaning people who most of the time are well-meaning. And they just turn around and invalidate on autopilot. It's what they know. They're not thinking about it. I mean, many caregivers believe that policing is their job. And that's what caregiving is. Who'd they learn that from? It's mysterious. Like, that's why at the end of the day, to me, whatever the people who created the pattern that I might have, okay, it's helpful for me to see those things more clearly. It's helpful for me to really look it in the face and to feel the grief and to feel the rage and to move on. But at the end of the day, change has to do with me. Change is in my hands. If I want to have power, I have to decide, all right, so that happened. This is the timeline I got for my childhood. What would I like it to be moving forward? I do have power over that. Yes, we're navigating systems that are brutal in many cases, unfairly. As a white woman, I have privileges in ways that others don't. I know this. But for each of us, there is power in our choices. And to me, that connects to aura, because the aura is the field in which we sit. It's the throne in which we sit to do the attunement, validation, and care. That is like our leonine throne. It's the sacred space of our sovereignty. And from there, we get to be the ones who choose how we show up here. And the field of that is very powerful. The field of that kind of self-validation creates miracles for other human beings. They crave to feel that from someone who's now taking a leadership role. You're going to be a leader when you do this. Leadership is with this, because it's self-leadership. Self-validation is self-leadership, and being a self-leader is being a leader. Because it's like holding the leadership frequency in your aura. And when you know sovereignty for yourself after all of this shit, you damn sure want it for everyone. There is just, there's no way to come into liberation and sovereignty in the way I'm talking about where you would not want it for everyone. No. When we accuse Leo of their shadow is narcissism, right? Whoa, that's a huge thing to put on a sign. Let's not, okay? Because we all need Leo. This is the sign that all of us, all people, the sun in our chart is looking to where Leo is in our chart. Leo is the sign our sun cares about. So let's not be shaming Leo. I mean, narcissism comes from shame. It comes from shame that is so intense, there's no ability to feel it. There's no ability to have capacity for it. It is so intense from lack of attunement, from abusive attunement, that we have these like protector parts that guard around that shame so that we don't have to feel it. And I'm saying we because I don't like it being an us and them type of thing, because the more you can't like sense sometimes a narcissism in yourself, if you can't allow that sometimes something might come through you and you're like, oh, okay, am I a narcissist? You know, like the famous saying is, if you ask yourself if you're a narcissist, that means you're not, right? So we are all capable of the moments where we're like, am I? Unless you like clinically are, as far as I understand. But to me, it comes from like the lunar piece, like the solar not being able to generously, open-heartedly, in sovereignty, beam the abundance of the heart, because the lunar parts of us are so malnourished and so abused by shame that it's just like untenable to live in that, from that generous place. And everything gets gnarled around those parts and the point of view of the protectors that have taken over. It's very sad. We can have compassion for how sad that is and say, no more. Not in my space. So this Cancer Leo transmission wanted to come through me to have an opportunity. It's funny, I knew I was going to do this before Cancer season. And then Cancer season happened. And it just brought up so much. Collectively, but just very personally too. And it really returned me to the roots of my whole business, which grew from what I was learning between Cancer and Leo, as in with the luminaries who miraculously helped me repair, alchemize, integrate, grow. It's not comfortable. Grief and rage are not comfortable to drop into. My pattern is I always would rather figure out what I did wrong than get to the deeper feelings. But that is like, those are the symptoms, of the abuse. So, the good, what I would say to you, listener, if any of this is resonating and you're really feeling all these things, is like, there is no destination where you are arrived at 100% sovereignty, liberation, self-validating all day long, and you're done holding yourself and tending to this. It is the commitment to never abandoning yourself and to always be the one there tending with the divine, available for the miraculous. the commitment to that says, I'm not going to leave you. I will be here the whole way. I will never stop attuning to you. That the alchemy does speed up. When we put our healing on a timeline, like I got to be fixed by then because I need da-da-da, that is unkind as caregivers to ourselves. That is urgent. And it's not really us. We've been conditioned by that, and we can release that conditioning. Again, releasing conditioning is not a thing that just like happens once and then it's over. It is a constant tending, cyclically. And it may sound like drudgery, but it's not, because you fucking get results. And those results are really exciting because you start to notice that you're more in your power, you're more in your voice, you're taking bolder moves, you feel more brave with the way you're living your life, honestly, vulnerably, authentically, fiercely. And those effects make what can be hard about the tending like important and worth it. You're worth it. This self-validation is a miracle. It's miraculous. Because it also has miraculous effects in this world. It has miraculous effects with your loved ones. It has miraculous effects with all of your relationships. It has miraculous effects for the way that you're inspiring other people and modeling a different form of adulthood. The one that the inner children thought they were coming into. You get to say it really is possible to life to be this generous and abundant. I'm going to create that. I choose that. I choose it. I choose it. I choose it. I will be married to my heart. I will be married to my heart. I will be married to my heart, who I'll never abandon, no matter what. Thank you. Would love to see you / not see you, because it's all audio, for next week's Power, Visibility, and Leadership series. If you find out about this and it's already happened, it's all asynchronous, you didn't miss anything, get it. It's relevant when it speaks to you. And the timing of that is mysterious. That's for you to validate. Self-validation is miraculous. It creates miracles. The link to join is in the show notes. What happens is you go through the pay portal. It's $44. And you get a link to join the Telegram channel, where I'll be dropping these audios that you can take in whenever you want. I'm going to drop in one a day, all of next week, 5 days in a row. They're going to probably be 30 minutes to an hour each. I'm going to be speaking and also offering like practices, homework, challenges to support you and going deeper, deeper, deeper. I've priced this to make it an easy yes, and I hope you will join us if this resonates. This is the heart of everything that I do, and certainly the heart of next week's Mystics Making Money. All right, y'all. Happy dark moon, happy new moon, happy any moon you're under. It's a miracle we get to have this moon. We're so lucky we earthlings get this moon. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.